Hello, welcome to the Wall of Fire New Covenant Ministries. I want to thank you for joining us, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to another lesson. This ministry is about three things: growing, fulfilling the Great Commission, being 100% sold out and becoming new covenant Christians, and discipleship. And we have a curriculum on discipleship that we're going to be walking through also. And so that's something to really impact our lives. It is a full curriculum. It's about 40 to 45 hours in length. And so we will be walking through that curriculum here eventually. So thank you for joining us. Also, if you want to support this ministry, if you look down inside the description box, you'll see our financial policy, and down at the bottom you'll see a link that will also allow people that want to support to support. That's We're not necessarily asking, but just if you want to, between you and God. But you'll see our financial policy there, and we do take that financial policy very serious, and we will live up to that. So today's lesson, we're going to look at some things that I think are prevalent in today's society, and all societies for that matter, but there's a lot going on right now in the church. And there's a lesson that I gave on counterfeit revival, and it looks into the leaders that are falling right now to immorality. There's a lot of things missing. And so in that lesson and other lessons, fulfilling the Great Commission and some things like that, we're going to look at some things that are maybe the cause, but also prevention and so forth like that. See, we follow Jesus. Jesus is our mediator. We're not following David, and we're not following Elijah that maybe got depressed and all those type of things. And those were the prophets of the Old Covenant. And yes, they had their service and their place and their all that kind of stuff. We learn from it. We grow from it. But we're New Covenant. And so this lesson, we're going to look at what God looks for. God looks for a man of character. Job was one of God's choice servants. God could point him out to Satan as one on earth who feared God in all his ways. The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil." That's Job 1:8. God says nothing about Job's intelligence or his talents or his wealth, for these have no value to God. He only points out his purity and his uprightness. As in the case of Jesus, it was Job's character and not his accomplishments for his ministry that delighted the heart of God. Even Satan has supernatural gifts and intelligence. He also has Bible knowledge. Satan has Bible knowledge too. What God looks for, however, is character. When God tests us, he tests our character, not our knowledge of the Bible. When God looks for a man whom he can boast in, whom he can point out to Satan, he looks for a man of character, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and hates evil. We may have a reputation among other believers for our spirituality, but can God, who knows us through and through, point us out to Satan and say, such a certificate as God gave to Job is greater than earthly honor that we can ever get? He gave Job a certificate of a man of honor, uprightness, things like that. All the empty honor of Christendom is useless, rubbish compared to that. So the most important question is not what opinions do others have of my spirituality, but rather, can God point me out to Satan as one whom he can boast in? When God told Satan about Job, Satan said that Job was serving God because he had benefited and profited thereby. Had wealth and money and all those type of earthly things. And he's only serving you because of that. Satan answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Hast thou not made a hedge about him and his house and all that he has on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse thee to thy face." Job 1:9-11. God refuted that charge and allowed Satan to test Job to find out for himself that his charge was not true. God did that because he knew Job's integrity. How about us? Do we serve God for material profit? Would God have to acknowledge that to Satan was right? If Satan pointed to any of us, one who served God for personal gain? God had such confidence in Job that he could permit Satan to test him. Even though Job lost all his children and all his property in one day, in a short amount of time on one day, yet he continued to worship and serve God. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job 1:20-22. He knew that all that he had, children and property and even health itself, were God's free gifts to him, and that God had every right to take these away when he desired to do so. One cannot truly worship God until one has forsaken all. That is, given up the right to possess anything as your own, or anything as one's own. God then allowed Satan to go one step further to afflict Job with boils from his head all the way down to his feet. Sickness from Satan. But even that can be used by God to sanctify and perfect his servant. Satan's third step was to afflict Job through his wife. Then Job's wife said to him, "Do you hold fast your integrity? Curse God and die." Job 2:9. It can be quite a test of your sanctification when your wife or husband turns out against you and accuses you. If you have difficulty with your wife, husband, spouse, instead of complaining of your lot in life and envying others who have godly wives, you could look at your circumstance as a means to your own sanctification. God tests you under those very circumstances to see if you qualify to get his certificate of approval. He tests you when your wife shouts at you and taunts you to see whether you qualify to be a true representative of Jesus, who was even called insane by his own relatives. The gospel records The gospel record says Jesus' own people went out to take custody of him, for they were saying, "He's lost his senses." Mark 3:21. Jesus bore that insult with patience. We are called to follow him and to represent him. Satan's fourth step was to accuse Job through his preacher friends. Job's chapter 4-25. This was the hardest blow for Job to bear, because those preachers came to him and acted like prophets of God, telling him that all his sicknesses were due to his secret sins. Little did those preachers realize that they were unconsciously acting as agents for the accuser of the brethren. Revelations 12:10. Side note, there's going to be a lesson on accuser of the brethren and holding hands with Satan. That's what you're doing when you're accuser of the brethren, you're holding hands with Satan, and that's evil. That's evil. Look in Revelations 12:10. But God permitted them to do that in order to purify Job. The trials and tribulations, persecutions, which we really actually haven't faced true in the West, especially in the United States, we haven't necessarily faced true persecution. Look up your Brother Yin. Look up your Watchman Nees. Look up your C.T. Studs. Look up your Madame Guyon and Corrie ten Boom and things like that to see true persecution. Adoniram Johnson. I hope this lesson helps. I hope the others do too. We look forward to continue growing and developing in this new covenant and becoming 100% sold out with new covenant Christians and studying God's kingdom. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Not my will, Lord, but your will. Be a man or a woman of character. God bless you, and amen.